Hey everybody, I've decided to create a video to walk you through the steps to get through homework 1. So hopefully this video will help you figure out what to download from the course website and how to go through the next steps for getting through that homework assignment. So let's start. So we'll go to the course website. You'll notice under course assignments we have homework 1. Open that up, click on it, and whatever you use to right click on your computer, whether that's a PC or Mac, you have to right click on each of these files and save link as. So whatever, if you're using Chrome or Firefox, you would have to go through and save all of these links. So first, let's go ahead and make a folder on our desktop. So I just right click to make a folder. I'm going to call it homework 1 with no space. That way it's easier to remember where this is at. Okay? Created that folder. Now I'm going to go ahead and right click on the first file, save link as. I will navigate to my desktop and I will locate homework 1. It's the folder I want to be in, and then click save. The same process goes for PCs. Same thing for the next file, save link as, save. So don't click on this paper with the upward arrow. That doesn't end up saving it as the file that it's supposed to be saved as. It saves it as some kind of HTML file, or it takes you to another page as well. So save link as for every file. So you see there are 2 files already in there. Make sure the GSS 2014 final, which is our data set, saves as comma separated values. Okay. Homework 1 underscore script, save. Homework 1 PDF, this is the PDF with all the description of what you need to do. And then the labels file. Okay, save. We can go ahead and close out of this. Now if we open up our folder, we'll see that all 6 of those files are in our folder. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this homework1.script, which is a script file. For Macs it's going to be under get info, and for PCs it's going to be under properties. And you can go ahead and change this to RStudio. Right now, or when you first get it, it should say R if you haven't changed it already, but you can change it to RStudio for open with. For PCs, I think it's under properties, and it shows the program that it opens it, and you can click change. And you select RStudio from the list. Okay, so now these should open correctly. I'm going to open up the homework 1 file. This is a description of everything you need. The task list. So these are the steps that you need to take in your homework. So let me make this a little bit smaller. So I have all the documents that I need. Now I'm going to open up the homework 1 script file, which is homework1.script or underscore script. So that's opened up. Here we have it. This is all the information we need. Okay. Let me minimize that, and I'll scoot this over so I can see this. Okay. So the first step is set your working directory. Okay. What this means is we will take, like we did in the example, we would take all of this Word directory and replace it where all of our files are placed. So since it says directory there, I'm going to erase the word directory, leave the quotation marks and the parentheses, but we need to replace it where our actual file is. So this is the folder where all our files are, right? So if you click on any one of these files, it'll give you the directory, the name of the folder where they exist. It won't give you the name of that actual file, but so we can right click on any file. Let's just select GSS Codebook, get info, and where it says where for Macs, it's going to give you the location of that directory. So it says the GSS code book is located here in this directory. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy where, go back to my R file, my script, and I'm going to paste that. So I've copied it, so I'm going to Control V or Command V, paste. That is my working directory where all my files are located. For PCs, you do the same thing. You right-click on the folder, you go down to Properties. Under Properties, inside, if you're in one of these files, because you're in the directory, it's going to give you the name of the directory. So you click on right-click, you go down to Properties. Under Properties, it'll give you a location of that file. You copy and paste that location. So, for instance, let me just save this. For instance, you go to the file on a PC, you right-click, it says C drive, it says something like C drive slash users slash burl slash desktop slash hw1, right? But since it's on a PC, it's going to be these weird backslashes. It should look something like this if you're on a PC. Right? Your username will be there. As long as you copy and paste that in, all you have to go through and do is change this to the /. PCs like to do / or backslashes, and for R to read in the directory, you need to have /. So as long as you change it, write that in, and run that line, it will work. So let me go back and change it to my actual directory, which is that. So I'm going to highlight that line and run it. So this warning message is just saying that there are packages that need to be loaded, but the working directory should still be correct. Okay. Now I'll go ahead and run these, which is the next step. It says set your working directory, so I've set my working directory, and then it says load the required packages. The required packages are these 3 that are listed there. Remember, anything in green like this with a hashtag before it, with the # before it, is a comment. So it's not going to read into R like a bit of code. So it'll read this line, and this line as packages that need to be loaded. So now the packages are loaded. Now I need to read in the data set. Right? The next step, download the data set. So it's already downloaded in your folder, and this is just another way telling you if you haven't downloaded it, put it into your folder. And now we have to read in the actual data set. So if you remember, the data set is called GSS 2014 _ final. So you can single click on that so it highlights the name, and you can copy that name and paste it here to where it says dataset. Now you're not replacing dataset.csv, the whole everything between the quotation marks. You're just trying to replace the word dataset. So it reads like this: GSS 2014 _ final.csv. If it says something like .csv.csv, erase one of those .csvs. That's obviously not a file. So what you need it to say is, in between these quotation marks, GSS 2014 _ final.csv, not space final, _ final, because that is what this file is called. Okay, now I'm going to try to read in this data set. And because we have this blue caret that showed up again, and because it appeared over here, we know it's successful. So we can click on it, and it'll show us all of this information. The next bit is to run the labels file. Now, I don't require that you guys run the labels file. It would be nice if you can run the labels file, but you don't. You really don't have to. I'll do it just to show you what it looks like. So here you'll see that the data just has variable names: ID, age, sex, race, educ, dip, GED, PA, educ, all these variables, but we don't know what they mean, right? So in order to add those variables, we have to read in, or add the labels, we have to read in a labels file. Here, this line 17 and 18 just show that you can call in the data if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Here, I say source equals labels.r, but that's not the name of our labels file, right? Our labels file is called labels_script. So let's go ahead and copy that, just like we did for dataset. Copy that and paste that into, so Control C and Control V. Command C and Command V. So it should say source labels_script.r, and that should be between the quotation marks. So I can highlight that line and run it. And again, because we arrived at this blue caret, that means that it was successful. We can look again back at the data set, and now it doesn't just say ID, age, sex, race, educ. It's added these labels there. If you call the data set something other than data1, the labels file is not going to work, because the labels script file is specifically made for a data set called data1. So this is why I say if you want to call your data set something else, then don't worry about running this bit of code, the labels file. You won't be docked points for not running the labels file. But I wanted to show you how it's done because we may need this in the future. Alright, so you've done that, you've run the labels file. Now the next step here is to select two continuous dependent variables that interest you. So the first thing you need to do is first look through variables and descriptions.pdf and get a sense of some variables that you might be interested in. And then second, you need to go to the codebook and see how those variables are coded. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and save my script file. The first one is GSS variables and descriptions. I've opened that up. Now, as you guys recall, I said demographic characteristics, demographic variables such as race, sex, education, age. These kinds of things are demographics and not dependent variables. You can't predict demographic characteristics. So I ask that you use other variables that may seem like they have a lot of variation, meaning there are a bunch of different categories that are listed, and they're quantitative, interval, continuous, meaning that every step is an equal interval, and that they're not, the previous step is worse than the next step. So if I said it was a quantitative a continuous variable that ranged from 1 to 10, and it said it was some variable that was trying to gauge attitudes towards race, and you say the question is something like, I believe that certain races are better than others, and then it ranged from 1, definitely disagree, to 10, definitely agree. So you would have gradients in between. That would be a good quantitative dependent continuous variable. So we would have to go through and select two variables that would resemble that. So something like this, affect law, might be a good question. How likely Congress is to give serious attention to ours, so respondents' demands. This is the belief that someone could affect laws. So we can go in, highlight affect law, right? That's what we're looking for. The next step is to, let's say that's your first variable that you wanted to use. The next step is to actually go into the codebook. Now the codebook is huge. It's 3,000 pages long. So in order for you to find the variable that you're interested in, you go into search or control F. So if I wasn't in search, I just say control F and it pulls up the search window. Command F on Macs, and I type in the name of the variable. I think it was affect law it was called. No, there's no E, so let me copy that. I'll paste it there. So it'll take some time to pop up. How likely Congress is to give serious attention to respondents' demands? Okay, sounds like it. So now we're looking for the place where it says var, which is variable, and affect law. We found it here, so here it is. So here we have our variable affect law. I was able to click on the side and find where exactly it was. Variable affect law, and it ranges from 1 to 4. See, very likely, fairly likely, not very likely, and not likely at all. Everything else, such as can't choose, no answer, not applicable, did not answer, inappropriate, those are all missing. So if it's coded like 8, 9, 10, all of these extra categories, those are missing. The real range of categories is here, 1 to 4. And as I mentioned in class, I wanted something with a lot of variation, like maybe 1 to 7 or 1 to 7, 1 to 6. Some of the variables don't have that. So 1 to 4, selecting a variable that has 1 to 4 is fine with me. So this would be a good outcome variable, potentially. That's one variable that you could choose. For me, I chose one of my variables is poll views. Let's see if I can find it. Poll views. Here we go. We hear a lot. Here's the actual question for the variable. We hear a lot about we hear a lot of talk these days about liberals and conservatives. I'm going to show you a 7-point scale on which the political views that people might hold are arranged from extremely liberal, 0.1, to extremely conservative, 0.7. Where do you place yourself on this scale? So you see extremely liberal is 1, extremely conservative is 7. So this is the variable I wanted to choose. So let's go back to the homework assignment. So I've chosen one. Another variable that I've chosen is oppose gov, and I'll show you the next steps. So we can go back to your R file, and you need to actually type in the names of the variables. So again, my two variables are poll views and oppose gov. But remember, when the data are pulled into R, as we found it here in our codebook, poll views is capitalized. But in R, when you convert it, it likes to make everything lowercase. Because of that, we have to make sure that we're calling poll views not in capital, but lowercase. So I will say data1, since it's in my data set, and then I'll add the word poll views. And you see it's coming up here. Similarly, I have another variable, my second variable, which is oppose gov. Here, the second one in the list, oppose gov. Those are my two variables. So I can call the variables here, highlight my variable 1, it's going to give me all the data that exists for that variable. Same thing for oppose.gov. I'll run that, and it's shown up. For our variable, we need to run univariate statistics. Remember, there was a package here that the psych package, we can use describe, or we can individually call each univariate statistics, such as mean, standard deviation, min, median, and max. I would prefer that you individually call the variables so you can separate which ones are which. So here, instead of variable, we'll type in the name of our first variable, which is poll views. And our second variable is oppose.gov. So I will get the mean for this and the mean for oppose.gov. Now you'll notice that the mean for each of those is NA. You'll also remember that I mentioned in class, with these packages in R, if you try to run the mean with a variable that has missing data, it'll say, hey, we can't compute the mean. That's not possible. To combat that, to fix that, you have to tell R, don't include the missing data. Don't include anything with NA. So we have another bit of script that says na.rm equals true. So here we could run it as comma, add a comma because you're adding another call, na.rm equals true. True needs to be capitalized. So if we try running that again, now it will give us the mean of 4.089. Same thing for oppose.gov. I'll copy this, paste that there. Where it was NA before, now it's 4.25. So by adding this bit of code, you're telling R, just neglect or ignore all the missing data, ignore all the NAs. Now run the mean for everything that's not missing. Now I ask you to go through and do this for everything. For the 5 required statistics, which are the mean, the median, the standard deviation, minimum, and maximum. I don't ask for a range because I don't like the way it's presented, and honestly you can get the range from maximum minus minimum, so you don't need that. So you can go ahead and delete that line. And now we're going to run each one of these statistics for all of for both of our variables. So you've chosen 2 variables. Here I've chosen poll views and oppose.gov. So what I'm going to do here is copy this, because this is all running the univariate statistics for one variable. Now I'm going to create this set for the second variable. So here I'm going to take the word poll views, highlight that, and then paste it where I see the word variable. Control C and Control V. So this will all be for the required univariate statistics for poll views, our first variable, my first variable. Now I'm going to do the same for oppose.gov. Here, copy and paste it into where I see the word variable in this second set here, and then I can run all of this together. I'll run the mean, median, standard deviation, min, and max for poll views, and that starts, let's go, so we can separate it and actually see where it is. Run it. So the mean for poll views is 4.089. The median is 4. Standard deviation is 1.43. Minimum is 1. Maximum is 7. Now I'm going to hit enter a few times to create some space, so you can always scroll back up and see what you've entered. But I've scrolled down now, put some space there, and then I'll run the same univariate statistics but for oppose.gov. We have the mean of 4.25, median of 4, standard deviation of 2.087, min of 1, max of 7. So we have all those. We can go ahead, if you wanted to, because you have to turn in your script file, you can go ahead and delete these lines here where it says where we tried playing with the mean. You can delete the lines for describe. You can delete this line. This was what we used to just call in the data, so you don't have to include that. And yeah, that's it. You can also delete this. This was just for your own curiosity if you wanted to run the range in a different way. So this is what your script file should look like. So I will save it, Control S, Command S on the Mac. Now you have all the data you need. So now you've run your univariate statistics. Now you should go back in to the codebook, or actually let's go to the hw1 file. What you will turn in, you'll turn in a sentence or two describing the dataset you're using for these variables. Luckily, I've provided that for you. So scroll down to the end of the homework1.pdf and you'll see this number 1 section on this example homework. This is something I provided for you. You can copy and paste this description. The data for this assignment come from the General Social Survey administered in 2014. The dataset has 2,538 observations with individuals as the unit of analysis. So you can copy and paste that dataset description. So that's the first thing you need. Now the second thing is, for each variable I would like a sentence or two describing the variable name and its description. So here I just said, here are the two variables I chose. Whole views and opposed gov. Now I actually add a description of the variable here, and I copy and paste the actual text of the question here. So I say the variable poll views is a continuous measure, and yours will be continuous as well. Mine is of conservatism that ranges from 1 to 7, with higher scores on this variable indicating higher conservatism. The text of the variable is as follows. So you can do all of this the same as yours, but obviously it would be your variable name, describing what your variable is and what it ranges from, indicate what higher scores or what lower scores on the scale mean, and then say the text of the variable is as follows, and then you copy and paste that text. So I've copied and pasted this text from the codebook. Copied that and then pasted it here. I do the same thing for opposed gov. So let's look for opposed gov. Okay. Here it is. Go back to here. The variable of opposed gov is a continuous measure measuring the importance of civil disobedience and ranges from 1 to 7, with higher scores indicating that the respondent believes civil disobedience is more important. So that it's important that citizens engage in acts of civil disobedience when they oppose government action. 1 is not at all important, all the way to 7 very important. Okay. So I've copied and pasted this text here, and I've written a description there. 3, you have to provide a table listing the mean, the standard deviation, median, minimum, and maximum for both of your variables. So whatever your variables are, you can list them in order and just copy and paste your values. So if we go back to R, let's minimize this a little bit, we can see that, scroll up for our data on poll views, 4.089 is the mean, 4.089 is the mean. 4 is the median, 4 is the median. Standard deviation is 1.43. Standard deviation is 1.43. Min 1, max 7. Min 1, max 7. Same thing for PostGov. Mean is 4.25. Median is 4. 2.087 is the standard deviation there. And then min 1, max 7. Min 1, max 7. So you copy and paste those values into a table. Create the table in Excel or create a table in your Word document, because you can do that. And then finally, I want you to copy and paste the text of your R script into your word processor, whatever you're using. So I copy and paste all of this. So you can just highlight all of your homework 1 script, copy it, and then paste it into your word processor. So those are the 4 things that you will be turning in for this homework assignment, noting that you will select different variables for this homework assignment. Hopefully that has all made sense. You will create one document with all 4 of these things listed. So it should be about 2 pages for your homework, because your script will go on a separate page in the end of your homework assignment, and then you submit those 2 pages on our course website here. Alright, hopefully that made the homework assignment a little bit more clear, and you guys will have fewer questions on how to get the homework assignment done. I would like to stress that if you're going to be doing this homework assignment and you've been having problems, I would start over. So maybe you've already selected the variables that you want, and that's great. I would write down the name of the variables so you have them saved, so whenever you look for them in both the variables and descriptions PDF or the codebook PDF, you have it already written down, so you know what you're looking for. But I would highly stress that you guys should download each of these files over again, because it seems like that was where a lot of the issues were coming. People were downloading different versions, they were downloading elsewhere. Go through the course website, create your actual folder on your desktop, and then right click and save link as into that folder. Otherwise you'll run into issues with even just setting your working directory, and that's the thing that makes it all work. So hopefully that's helpful, and hopefully you guys can get moving on the homework assignment, and that will then make it easier for when we move on to homework assignment 2 and 3. Alright, thank you for your time. I wish you all good luck.